afternoon. This is Debbie Broughton, your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from St. Robert, Missouri. I'm just on here seeing if my live is showing up on Facebook. So if you're here, if you could comment, I don't know, everything looks good. Sometimes my laptop has a hard time pulling it up, but I see it now, and everything looks basically straight. And up here is explaining, hi Marianne, how are you? Up here is explaining about my deal for the month of March. If you use this hostess code and put in a $40 order, you'll get to take a free online class on April the 9th, and you'll receive from me a packet that you'll be able to make 3 cards and a post-it note holder. But I won't be able to send any of the stamped images, but I can cut. All the paper will be cut, things cut with the stamp emboss machine will be cut out, and all 4 items are going to be based with the Butterfly Brilliance set. So if you wanted to make your $40 order include that, or it doesn't have to, because you can always use some different stamps. Hi Judy, how are you doing today? I know I've already talked to you several times. So I'm here today to show you this most amazing thing. If you take your Butterfly Brilliance stamp set and you open it up and you poke out all these little pieces here and you save them, I'm going to show you some amazing cards that you can make with it. So if you do happen to get this set, don't throw away these little pieces. I saw this Kylie Barachucci from Australia demonstrated this first idea about what to do with it, and then I have made up some other examples of what you could do with it. So here's the first one. Doesn't it make like the perfect giraffe pattern in the background? And this makes a great get well card. And on the inside, I kind of just followed through with a little bit more of the giraffe pattern. So let's get started on how to make this one. I used the stamp set back on your feet because I just love how cute these little characters are. And I started out with some soft suede for my card front. I'm sorry, for my card base. Did you see the new color polish I have on my nails? It changes colors. When it gets hot, it changes to white. And so sometimes it's like an ombre color, white, and the tips are still kind of cold, so they stay blue. Hadley just loves it. I was putting my hands under hot water this morning while we were waiting for the bus, and we're seeing how fast they would turn back to blue. And she wants me to do it every time now with a different color. So I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to crease my card base. I'm going to move this for a minute and I'll bring it back when I talk about it later. And then I used the new, hi Anna, the new Bumblebee cardstock. And I inked up my spots. Anna, these spots, I don't know if you were here when I was explaining where I got these little spots from, but they're from the leftover pieces out of the Butterfly stamp set. And I mounted them here on this block, and now I'm going to make some giraffe patterns in the background. Now, if you wanted to, you could stamp once and then stamp again to have lighter and darker. But I kind of like the darker. I'm going to fill in this spot a little bit. And don't worry, by the time we get done with this, I will have marks all over my grid paper today. Now I'm going to try to have to fit one here in the middle. So there we go. Now I'm going to clean this on my purple chamois, just because we're going to use a different color for the next card. And I rubbed too hard and some of them flipped off. You don't really have to have them all in the same order. It's just a random pattern. Okay, so let me close this stamp set before I stick my fingers in it. Then I'm going to take, well, somehow I'm going to take this framelit and I'm going to cut out a piece of basic white paper to stamp the giraffe on. I'll have to get a piece of basic white because I thought I had, oh, here it is. Okay. So I'm going to stamp that with Stays On. This frame here is from the So Sweetly Stitched frame. And it's just kind of cute. And also, this one here comes from that same dies. So there we go. Now this paper might be a little bit too big to fit in this mini stamp emboss machine, so I'm just going to cut it a little bit so that I can get it to fit in there. It's just so much easier than having to bring the big one over to the table. Okay, so we're going to place this around it, and we're going to send it through the stamp emboss machine. Kind of got my layers mixed up there. Okay. Put the top layer on and send it through. And so here we go. Now, I'm not going to take the time to color this in, but I used Bumblebee and Soft Suede to color in the giraffe. But I won't bore you with coloring that in. I can always do that later. Here's my two. I just used the regular markers. And then I stamped this. This is not good. I think that's so funny. This is not good. I'm going to kind of stamp this here and that here in the middle and cut it out with the other die that comes from the So Sweetly Stitched. So, let me get out my ink here. Okay, and even though I didn't get it crooked, I can fix that when I'm cutting it out by changing how I put the framelit around it. Look at how straight these plates still are, and look at how much I've used them. They're much better than the old plates that we used to have that used to bend all the time. So I'm going to fix this up so that it's straight. I'm going to send it through the machine. And just because I thought it looked a little stark with just the white, I went ahead and stamped my spots one more time. And I stamped off just to kind of give a light color of them. That kind of just makes them coordinate better with the background. And maybe I should get one right there. There we go. So now we would just glue all these pieces together. I wanted to let you know that next month the retiring list will come out because the annual catalog will end May 3rd and the new catalog will start May 4th. So already we're getting ready to see what's going to retire. Seems like all the time they're just moving it up. It used to not happen until July when I first started. The new catalog started in July. Then they changed it to June, and now they're changing it to May. So we got that there, and we would use some of our mono adhesive to place this rectangle. And like I said, I'm going to color it in later. I just don't want to make you sit there this afternoon and watch me color everything. And I would take a dimensional and I would pop up these words. Now I'm thinking these words might have fit right here, but I kind of like them better when they're on a little tag. And there we go. And on the inside, I would just take the inside and I stamped off again and made a giraffe pattern up the edge just to have it all coordinate. So finished with card number 1. Let me just take a moment to clean up this mess. I hear the school bus bringing the elementary kids home. I'm going to have to clean my spots again because I forgot I had to use them to do the tag, so I don't want to mix their color because the next one, I keep my purple chamois in an old Stamp and Scrub container. It just helps me remember where it's at. Okay, so let's see what else we can do with these spots. How about this one? Now instead of being giraffe spots, I've just made them be like an interesting background. Nothing to do with giraffes or anything. They just kind of add some color. So we're going to first take our Highland Heather card base, fold it in half. The measurements for these cards are going to be really easy because what I wanted to show off was how you could use the spots from the butterfly set. So they're pretty basic designs for the cards. To go get another piece of basic white It would be amazing if I had every piece ready like I thought I did when I make up the basket. But I'd probably be in shock if I did. So we're going to cut this at 5 1/4. By 4 to make our card front, which is a basic card front. And this time I'm going to use Gorgeous Grape for the background. So I have my Gorgeous Grape here, and again I'm going to do the same thing I did with the giraffe card. Hi Chloe, how are you today? If you missed the beginning, I got these spots. Let me just show you. I got these spots out of the holes from the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set. And then I just saved them and I mounted them on this block here, and we're making patterns with them today. And you can arrange them however you like on your block. I kind of just stuck them on there. I wasn't really paying attention to where or if it was a certain way. And I just maybe need one here. Okay, that looks pretty good, I think. So the next thing I did was I wanted to stamp this flower here, but I wanted it to be Highland Heather for the flower and Old Olive for the stem and the leaves. So what I did is I got out my markers. Here they are. And I used the big end, and I just colored the top of the stamp, and the ink will just stay right on the ridges of the flower. We used to do this a lot when I first started stamping to get different colors. And then I'm going to take my Old Olive and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to kind of get all the pieces. Then what you have to do to kind of re-moisten the ink is to huff on it just a little and get it moist, and then it should be ready to stamp. Well, you would think it would be. Maybe I didn't get the flour moist enough. Alright, you know what happens? I know what happened. And if you all were here, you would tell me, because I forgot to put my piece of foam underneath, which helps me get a good image with the photopolymers. So we'll just try again. Sometimes stamping doesn't always work the first time, but you can always figure out how to fix it. We'll just quickly color this again. Okay, now I have my piece of foam, I have my photopolymer stamp, and we'll try, forgot to huff. Here we go. I know other people can stamp pretty good without the foam underneath, but for some reason, voila, I have to have the foam. So the next part we're going to do now is we want to fill in these leaves. So we're going to take some Pear Bassaz, because it's a lighter green than the old olive, but they still coordinate very well. And we're going to ink this up, and we're going to fill in the leaves. I even have my official Stampin' Up! Sweater on today. Okay, so you just want to get it as close as you can. It's not going to be perfect. It'll maybe look more like watercoloring. But we'll see how we do here. Oh, we did pretty good. And the next thing we're going to do then is we're going to get the purple, the Highland Heather, into the top here. So let me get out my Highland Heather ink. And this is the piece. It kind of just looks like one solid piece of photopolymer, and it is. So and it's also, if you can tell, it's kind of got the faded look, so it's going to have some darker and lighter spots, because that's just how these are made, to give you a little bit of shading. So we're just going to get it inked up very good. And Highland Heather's such a light color, it's hard to see. And there's like this, I'm trying to explain how you would fix this. There's kind of this longer edge down here. That's what I've decided goes at the bottom, because it doesn't match it perfect. Because like I said, it's supposed to be watercoloring, so it'll kind of go a little bit outside the lines. There we go. Don't worry about this mark down here, because we're going to cut it out using a die. So we won't even see that. I'm going to cut this piece of paper so that it's small enough to fit into the mini cut machine. Going to move away my foam, bring up my machine. I love this hydrangea set. The paper, the stamp set, the dies. It just allows you to make some very pretty cards. So here's the die. It's the complete flower and leaves. And I'm going to place this on here. I'm going to try to get it as centered as I can. Add the top. Thanks, Marianne. And then I'm going to roll this through. It might be a little off, but remember, like I said, this is supposed to be like a watercolor. And so it doesn't matter if you stayed into the lines. At least that's what I tell myself. Okay. So now I'm going to add this here to the background that we made. With just a dab of glue. Oh, I think I'm going to pop it up this time with a dimensional. That will make it look even prettier, don't you think? It'll kind of give it a little bit of height. So I'm just going to put a dimensional back here. And I'm going to put it on here like this. There we go. Now we want this greeting. Again, we're going to take our basic white paper, a So Sweetly Stitched die, and the words. I did the words in Gorgeous Grape and the splotch. I don't know what else to call it. in Highland Heather. So let me get the words. I like to do my words first because if I get them crooked, it's easier to line the frame up around them to cut it. So I'm going to stamp that there. I'm going to cut it out. Move my ink so I don't stick my hand in it. Put the top on. And let's see what we come out with. Oh, that came out very nice. So now I have this, and I'm going to open up my Highland Heather now. And see if I can remember where I laid the splotch after I showed you the splotch. That's my problem. I'm always laying things all over when I'm doing these, and then I forget where I laid them. Well, I will find that later, but all you would do is just ink it up and stamp it on there. Again, it kind of just gives it a little bit so everything's not just so white. And I would glue the front down. I would, since I'm going to kind of make it be so it holds, maybe get part of this leaf and the stem behind it, but that won't work because then you won't be able to see the word. So let me see if I can kind of, there, I can kind of move that up a little. And now I can kind of fix this down to hold down the stem but let the leaf out. That's what I'm trying for. There. Okay, so now I just need to put a little bit of glue on here. I love the giraffe one too. But I kind of like this one. It kind of reminds me of like maybe stepping stones. Just something different that you could do with them. Now, on this one, you see how I had this one here and it was a light color? I had one of those on here too. So what I did was I took the big butterfly die out of Butterfly Brilliance, and I just cut a piece of paper just enough. I just wanted this one butterfly, so I didn't cut out a whole sheet of them. So I just cut out one, just to kind of hide that one spot that I messed up there. And I'll pop this up on a dimensional. And nobody will be the wiser. And I also have the little gems, the gilded gems that came with the Ornate Garden bundle. I've had them for a while. get my spatula here, and I'm just going to add a little bling to my butterfly. There you go. And on this one on the inside, I got some Highland Heather in the middle, so I kind of put some splotches around lightly in there, and then I added a butterfly in the corner. So, card number 2 is finished. Okay, let me just kind of clean up my mess here a little, because that's what happens. I get too many things out, and then I lose things. So I'm going to put all the Highland Heather hydrangea items back in my basket.